gentlemen. Thank you for joining me today. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Matt Holdren. I am a film and broadcasting educator here in the South Side of Chicago. I'm in a high school, but I also do documentary work on the side. I do a lot of weddings and things like that to make the money on the side when I can. But I really appreciate you both joining me today. Particularly in this category. This is a category that's sort of near and dear to my heart as an educator. This would be the category that my kids can definitely watch in school. And so watching these films have been really inspiring for me. I personally don't get a chance to see films like this that are at film festivals because just being a teacher, I'm pretty busy. So I was definitely shocked by the quality of storytelling that I saw in this. And so I commend you both that are here right now. I really, in particular, both of your films I got to screen recently and was definitely impressed. So thank you again for joining us. And, I just want to ask you a few questions. And, if you have questions for each other, feel free to talk to each other since it's just us here right now. Let's do it. So I'll start off with Carlos and Kenya Symphony. So my question for you as I was watching it is, why is it so important for you to tell a story like Kenya Symphony? What's the driving factor for you to tell this type of a story?
So yeah, Matt and Josh, thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be here. So the reason why I wanted to make this film is because the story is about a young girl who goes to the symphony for the first time with her mother, and it's the unknown. It's the factor of she's never been to a symphony concert. This isn't a place that you see many 5-year-old girls or children in general just attending a symphony concert. They can tend to be boring. So the importance of the film and the reason why I wanted to make it is because I wanted to shed a little bit of light of you can become entranced by something that you wouldn't necessarily put yourself out and experience, like a symphony concert or just something that is out of your comfort zone. It's all about experiencing something new and just discovering a new passion that you may have and sort of enlightening yourself. And so that's the epiphany that the young girl named Kenya has in the film. She goes to the symphony concert, is completely tuned out at the very start of the film, and she's blowing spitballs into the audience and disobeying her mother completely. And the mother, she wants to have Kenya, she wants to have her settle down, enjoy the music, but that just doesn't happen. She's not able to make that connection herself. The mother doesn't crush Kenya's energy or anything like that. She just simply wants her to sit there and enjoy her time, but it's difficult for the mom to do that herself. But once Kenya does have that epiphany, it's like she discovers it. She becomes like a whole new person. She has this appreciation for music. And if it wasn't for that, she wouldn't have discovered this passion that she has. And so that's the thing that I wanted to really express in this film. And I used to work at the symphony myself. I used to be an usher for the concerts for a couple of months, and I had a really good time being there. I enjoyed classical music, but it was based off of a story that I sort of have from working at the symphony, and mom and daughter came into the symphony and they had a similar experience. So I wanted to tell that story, but animations just seemed like the best way to do it for me.
Beautiful. During the film, I noticed that when Kenya does kind of start doing the spitballs and starts acting out a little bit, the fact that nobody in the audience sort of reprimands her or scolds her in a way that you would expect to happen, maybe even in the real world, in particular in an environment like that, right? So
Right.
What was your motive for creating the narrative at that point to change that way, instead of it being something we probably would see most often in an orchestra or in a setting like that, to where they're much more forgiving and open?
And the funny thing is that if you pay close attention to the art style that's in the film, Kenya and her mother are animated completely different than how the background characters are. They look different. They look like they're almost from two different worlds. And I did that on purpose, just because it's like the mom and daughter, they have a special relationship. But outside of that mother-daughter relationship, like, it's the unfamiliar. You don't know any of these strangers who are also like attending the concert with you. And so the fact that Kenya does disobey her mother and she's just, going all out and not being reprimanded. Yes, that's like, um, I think that the important thing is that, especially at such a malleable age of being like a 5-year-old girl, it almost isn't the best to sort of shadow the imagination or the energy or just the childlike nature that Kenya had. Her mother was almost nurturing that by not reprimanding her, almost
Mhm.
just giving her like the shh, just be quiet, just settle down, not really taking
Mhm.
her out of the element of like being in the symphony hall. She stays there, she kind of sticks through it. And I think that that's what, and you're right. I think in the real world, you might not have other strangers reprimanding a young child. And if you actually go to a symphony concert, like the Chicago Symphony, if you're there, you're supposed to be quiet. You're not supposed to be making any type of noise. They've stopped concerts because people have coughed. So it's something that you can't do. So for this little girl to be doing all that, it's almost shocking that nobody stopped her during the animation. But I felt that it was the only way to tell a story without having any interruption from like the outside world. It's all it is just Kenya and the music. That's pretty much the dynamic that's happening throughout the entire film. But nothing else to really sway it in one direction or the other. She sort of makes that discovery on her own.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, it's this just the both of us, if we don't mind. I just kind of bounce back and forth between both of you so we can have a little bit more personal conversation here. Um, and Stimson, I'm going to go to you next. Um, I watched this movie a couple weeks ago. I watched it again today with my daughter. Believe it or not, I pulled her up to my side. I was like, check this out. Um, it's such a, I don't know, I'm a teacher. I teach film and I like to teach genre. And I watch your film, and to me, I don't know where it fits necessarily in terms of genre, because it's got this documentary vibe it starts off with, but then it goes into this animation and the storytelling. Where do you think a film like this fits, and where would you like it to fit?
I would say the place I would love it to fit is where it currently is fitting, actually, which is in a classroom. It's
Yeah.
a piece that weaves in a lot of educational elements, but its priority from the DNA up through every stage of its conception is inspiration.
Mhm.
It doesn't want to mislead kids. It wants to get kids as interested as possible in the subject matter. And it does that by trying to humanize this rover, which to me never feels like a huge logical leap, because having met quite a few of the people who worked on the real rover,
Mhm.
all humanized her quite a bit, in
Yeah,
fact, to the point where right down to the gender pronoun that I'm giving the rover of her, that
sure.
very much came from the JPL and NASA teams.
Wow, that's impressive. Talk to me a little bit about that personality that you did give the rover, because again, that's something that stood out to me. That's a choice you had to make. It's a decision you had to make. Talk to me about the personality.
It started as a very mild inspiration. The whole film is based on a 6-panel comic by XKCD, Randall Monroe, if you're
Mhm.
familiar with the guy who also combines a lot of educational real science with funny things, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But his comic was very, very depressing. So all at the end of it, the rover died, and that was the end. It dies alone and unhappy. Nothing family friendly about it. All it really did was make the logical leap of giving the rover a personality. So when we got into the scripting phase, and then doubly so when we started casting, it became clear that this rover needed to be kind of a stand-in for the kids who would be watching this. So kind of overeager, super excited, but knowledgeable, but
Mhm.
inexperienced. And there is a wealth of difference between experience and knowledge. So while the rover always knows what she's doing, she is, at the end of the day, the personality in our mindset was overeager intern. So and in terms of the characterization, I cannot overstate what a difference it made having Tara Strong do the voice of the rover. Um, just from the time I met her, what she was able to do in the sound booth. A glance at her IMDb page indicates her level of experience, but I
Yeah.
truly cannot overstate the talent and just emotional depth she was able to give this character in just a handful of lines.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the first questions that came to my mind was this personality, like how, where do you get it from? How you inspired it by it? And yeah, the voice definitely takes you where you need to be with there. Talk to me a little bit about the significance of the ending, like the final words that were spoken. I think it was something like "This is home." The Rover's final words. Talk to me a little bit about, what's the message you're sending with that?
It's what's next. Mars. The film is very, very unapologetic in what it wants to inspire. The next step is for humanity to go there, and it wants to help inspire the next generation of astronauts. It's not an accident that the people involved with this, our animation team does a lot of the work for SpaceX. So these are people also very firmly focused in Mars exploration. And that's why we were able to get Steve Squires himself to appear in it as well, because its goal at the end is to, with so much of sci-fi, you always see sci-fi as a cautionary tale, which I always feel like is not reflective of the actual lived experience of the human race. Yes, there have been bad things from technology, but the good has, to a comical degree, overwhelmed the bad. But that is not represented in storytelling and fiction at all. In the realm of fiction, everything since the Stone Age was a step backwards.
Yeah.
Film wants to go aggressively in the opposite direction, that hope and joy. And so, yes, the ending is initially sad, but that's why we needed that extra bit on the end that really kind of laid our stakes. And because we also wanted it to be an educational piece, that's why right after we do that, we immediately have Steve Squires gently correct what it does wrong.
Yeah.
And gentle correction is the word we used a lot when we were filming that interview.
Yeah, I love that ending, how he comes in and kind of explains what the film is, and like, I don't want to say the fault with it, but what it doesn't get right and what it does get right. And that's why, to me, when I was watching, I'm like, what is this? I can't quite understand what this is. But it was fascinating, and I was sucked in with the entire story. I really loved it. So really appreciate you allowing me and my daughter to watch that today. That's fantastic.
I just wanted to
Yeah, I hit a point when we were developing it in post-production where I stopped being receptive of notes from adults, but anytime a child told me something about it, I would bend over backwards to incorporate the notes. Steve Squires has not admitted it to me, but I am firmly of the belief that the only reason he said yes to us is his 8-year-old daughter really enjoyed it when she watched the version before he was in it. So he has not confirmed nor denied that, but that is my theory for the record.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. All right, Carlos, back to you really quickly, because you are a college student, right, Carlos?
Just left college. I have my degree.
Left college.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a BA in traditional animation now. So now it's just figuring out what's next. What's the next step?
Where is that from? Where were you at?
I was at Columbia College, Chicago.
Okay, so we're not too far away from each other.
4 years there, and I had a great time. So now it's just, I'm really ready to start making more short film, or work in television or film.
Cool. And this is going to be a question really for both of you, but I'll start off with you, Carlos. Especially being a college student, how do you find the time to do animation? I've worked with After Effects myself a little bit, and I just get so overwhelmed with how difficult it is, and then I end up just paying for a template or asking somebody to make something for me. How did you find the time to make this creation?
You have to find time at every staking moment. I'm telling you, when I made this film, it was over 3 semesters that I completed this film. And I mean, the film's only 4 minutes long, but in that time, I had so many all-nighters. I was not getting a lot of sleep, but I made it happen. If you're really passionate about something, it's almost like you forget about your bedtime. I mean, you just end up staying up until 3-4 o'clock in the morning, just finishing a single shot or just trying to get a single line perfect. I mean, it really came down to, if I didn't spend as many sleepless nights working on this, like, I probably wouldn't have had it finished in the time that I did. I completed it in December of 2019. And so it's just, it really took a lot of effort, but I mean, I had to work. I was working at a bakery at the time. I was, in school full time. So it was quite a bit of just trying to work out of my schedule. Once I was done with the schoolwork, once I was done with, working at the bakery, I'd come home, and I mean, it could be 8 o'clock at night, and then I'd start working on it until 12 o'clock, and I had to, get up, do the same thing again. And I finished a large portion of this film. Like I really had to hammer down the workload once the fall semester came around. So pretty much from September all the way to December, it was just constant workflow all the time. So and it paid off in my opinion. You know, I've never really pushed myself to that limit, but just to make this film, I really had to.
Well, I respect the heck out of you for it. I know how difficult that can be, juggling education and your creative endeavors as well. Stimson, same thing to you. You know, you watch how polished your film is, and did you work with a team on this? Was it mostly by yourself? What was the process for you?
Well, first, let me compare it to Carlos is an unfair comparison. Carlos, I could never do what you did. That is a one-man wonder if you're able to simultaneously animate something as a one-man team while doing a side job. So just kudos to you, sir.
Thank you so much.
For my end, much easier. Delegation. Hire lots of professionals who know what they're doing to do it for you. Mm-hmm. So something like Spirit was all about preparation. So every single shot of it was storyboarded. The locations were scouted in advance. Then we went out there, we shot the plates with a world-class DP named Jay Rigatori, who was excellent. We had a stand-in for the rover, an actress friend of mine, Carissa Adams, who's always a pleasure to work with, and by coincidence is the exact height of the real rover. We shot the plates once without her for the animators, once with her, so the animators would have a clear reference. Then the animation team, Cinsaurus is the name of the company, they went through, they built the grayscaled, unrendered version of it. This went on over many, many months, them kind of sending me a couple shots a week as they were getting it. We would tweak the timing with my notes, and then we would go back in and render it out. And then the final phase was bringing in Tara to do the new audio with the music. So really, it was just a very slow, patient process of simply getting the best people I could find each step of the way.
Nice.
So.
All right. Well, that's definitely two distinct ways to go about making a production, and but both equally impressive and out of my realm. I'm often busy, grading kids' works and grading essays. So here's I won't take up too much more of your time. But one final question I want to have for both of you is this. I think every filmmaker, and I know I teach my kids this idea of having an ethos. What is your purpose as a filmmaker? What is your ethos? What are you trying to do as a filmmaker? What do you want to leave this world as a filmmaker, having told the world? And then Carlos, I'll start with you. What is your ethos as a filmmaker?
One thing that I would love to do in my career, there's been sort of a deviation away from traditional animation that's happened, over the course of the last 20 years, just because of like technological advancement. I mean, it's bound to happen. I mean, you've got films such as like Toy Story, like Pixar. I mean, they've made some like incredible films. And so something that I would love to bring back is just the medium of traditional animation. And so this is, I really wanted to get my degree in this so I'd be able to create film the way that I do. And I think there's a certain quality that comes out of traditional animation that is just unique. And I would love to tell stories based off of this, like the artist line is so important. I would love to see more films that are completed this way, more feature films, that are theatrically released, short films as well. And, I think as a filmmaker is something else that I also want to show is I personally loved the fact that this film was my first, and it was something that was so close to my heart. The fact that like I would love to just show people that you have to experience more and you have to put yourself out there, and especially at a young age, being able to just put yourself in the shoes of the person that you want to be one day. Mm-hmm. And I would love to just tell inspirational stories in that way and sort of channel the dreams and inspirations from the characters, whoever is in the film. I would love to just channel that and be able to tell their story, or just be inspirational in some sort of way and show that through the art of animation.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Stimson, same question to you. What is your ethos as a filmmaker?
If I were to boil it down, I would say that in that intelligent, challenging stories and entertaining stories are not mutually exclusive.
Mm.
And just always trying to find a way to make things as fun and commercial and appealing without dumbing them down in the process. I feel like that part of sometimes I think people look down on the more commercial side of things, especially in the academic circles. Whereas I stand by part of the responsibility of an artist, especially if you have a challenging idea or an idea that means a great deal to you to convey, is finding a way to convey it that makes converts of the watcher.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. The idea of pop culture has been tainted, it seems like, but pop just stands for popular. So if it's popular, everyone's enjoying it. So I think that's a great perspective to have. We want to popularize your message. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I know that you had to run. You had about a half hour, so I appreciate both of your times. If there's anything you want to say, this is going to go up on the social media. If there's any final thing you want to say to the audience, I'll pass the mic to you. We'll start with Stimson. We'll start with you.
Well, the message I would like to pass on to the audience is please enjoy the festival. Filmmakers, on behalf of filmmakers everywhere, having our stuff seen by people means the world to everyone involved, to the people who made it. And it also helps the people who made it move on to their next project. So you're not just helping out the festival, you're helping out your fellow artists and filmmakers. So just all my thanks.
Beautiful. Carlos.
And then I would like to thank the festival. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Stimson. Thank you, all the other filmmakers who have been selected for the film festival. Watch Spirit, watch Kenya Symphony, watch all the other films, as I think they're going to be great. And I'm very excited and honored to be a part of this festival. And just to piggyback off of what Stimson has said, this is the perfect opportunity for filmmakers to get to their next project, to get some exposure, get some experience. And I believe that even doing this during a time such as this, during a pandemic, this is really important. Being able to have Zoom calls, despite not being able to see each other in person, this is the important stuff, that we're keeping this going and that we're allowing more creativity to be shown. And, we're not silencing the voices of any creatives, any filmmakers. We're still holding film festivals, and this stuff is important. So thank you so much. And yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today for this virtual Q&A. We appreciate you making it out, and we really hope to see you next year in person down here at Governor's State, and we'll be able to shake our hand. But until then, we'll virtually have to just say goodbye, and I wish you both the best of luck in both the festival and in your careers. Take care.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you so much. You do the same.